New England, including our news and entertainment heavyweight, The Wild Side with David Klein, or our Everyman platform hosted by Scott Rotundo called The Rotunda. If you're looking for a slightly more provocative spin on current events, Demand the Truth with Will Turbett offers its listeners factual evidence, not fear tactics or propaganda. Looking for something a little lighter? Derelict Dummies with musicians Chris Hansen and Bob Juski look at the world each week from a green perspective. Psycho Sports provides hard-hitting commentary.
Remember the Chris Hansen that was on Dateline?
He got caught.
He got caught doing the same thing that you.
Listen live when you want our paths
That's crazy.
Tune in and get
And he was busting people with a straight face.
Why don't you take a seat? Why don't you take a seat, dog?
Remember when he caught the rabbi?
No.
You don't, oh man, he caught a rabbi one time. And the man was like, he like his whole world broke down. He had so much emotion in his face.
You feel inspired, you can always
Dog. That's why you just don't pedophile kids in the first place, you know?
It's disgusting.
Simple solution, just don't do it.
I'm mad that it's even a conversation. It's
Yep.
2017 and we gotta have this conversation. Like that should be like one of those things that you don't, like everybody just kind of knows,
Yep.
you know, and just everybody just kind of agrees.
With only
This is
a
good.
few clicks, anyone can create professional artworks even without any experience.
Guys, thanks for watching. We're going to talk about the prison industrial complex today. I know everybody knows somebody that's been affected by that. We all have mass amounts of incarceration. We're going to get into that. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you everybody for sharing the video so this can go along to everybody else. And again, thank you guys for sharing this video. Much appreciated.
Go today at photojet.com.
Peace and civil rights don't mix, they say.
Each week, 990 WBOB presents Demand the Truth with host and political activist Will Turbett. Demand the Truth focuses on specific issues and how they affect you and what you, the average citizen, can do to make an impactful difference. From government cover-ups to local corruption,
Generally speaking, the press is inherently dishonest.
providing only factual evidence to his listeners instead of fear tactics or propaganda. Turbett inspires his audience to think and demand the truth. Listen live Monday nights at 7 p.m. Eastern or listen on demand when you want. Demand the Truth demands your attention and your intellect.
People that are subordinates carry out what the chief wants.
I'm supposed to be
This
listening
is
to the
990WBOB.com.
I'm supposed to be listening
The
to the
home
thing in
of
the
internet.
You don't necessarily have to.
From Rhode Island to the world, 990WBOB.com. 990WBOB.com is an independent free media outlet.
Good evening and welcome to Demand the Truth, an hour in time designed to educate, expose injustice, and inspire action. Here is your host, Mr. Will Turbett.
All right, everybody, thank you for listening to another episode of Demand the Truth. We are live worldwide. We got listeners and viewers all over, and if you are watching this broadcast, please go to 990WBOB.com and click the live link and just turn the audio down on the screen there and help support Renegade Radio. For over 10 years, they've been giving an alternative voice to the people here that's not controlled, so we definitely respect and support that. So definitely check out that website. And one of the things that we do to all the listeners that are new here to Demand the Truth is present factual information to real-world problems and then try to counteract that and offer a solution, a feasible solution to that. So today we're going to talk about some of the most oppressed people in the entire world, and that's the thousands, the millions of people that are in prison. And these people are literally enslaved, and the majority of these people haven't really done anything. So we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about how we went from not having that many people in prison to now it's an industry. It's a literal for-profit industry. So we're going to get into that. And I have a special in-studio guest. His name, his alias is going to be Juices Malone. You guys can find him there on Facebook, so look him up, and he's got a ton of information. So let's start off this broadcast. Tell me a little bit about yourself and what made you get into this. What made you start researching this? Because you have a ton of information here. So what got you into all this?
Oh, thank you for having me, Will. And first, before I start anything, I just want to say thank you for having me. I've been looking at your work and just been really impressed. So I've been admiring from afar, just saying, and I'm just very humbled to be on your show. But got into this just basically, I married, my wife's African American, I'm Dominican. I'm a former Marine. I met her out in San Diego when I was serving. And but now I have kids. I have 2 boys now who are black, right? So it made me start looking at this. And when you start unfortunately you have to kind of look at things through those goggles. Okay, the things that kind of affect them that not necessarily affected me, but just looking at things through their eyes and how the world that they're going to inherit. And I started doing research, just saying, okay, why are so many African Americans going to jail? Why is it that they make up like 80% of the prison population, even though they only have like 10% of the overall population across the United States? When I start thinking about numbers like that, I'm like, those don't make sense. So I started just doing more and more research, more digging, which just opened up the world to the prison industrial complex, which goes hand in hand with the war on drugs, and how the two kind of work hand in hand to just basically enslave a whole group of people, not just African Americans, Latinos, white, everybody. So we have a court in the United States. We have a court of the world's prisoners. We have more prisoners in the United States than China does, which is just staggering to me when I think about that. It's just, it doesn't make sense. I mean, China has a population of 2 billion. We have a population of 250 million.
And we have more people enslaved, and it goes to the point that you were talking about. You have a graph here, and we'll show the audience that's listening via Facebook Live. But before, you're talking about how this all changed and how this is completely interwoven with the war on drugs. And you're going to show how that all ties together in this graph here. But the war on drugs was created by, like you obviously educated me about, Richard Nixon. But even Richard Nixon got the schedule of the class of drugs from the United Nations. And the United Nations, its first Secretary General was a convicted felon, Alger Hiss, a Russian spy. And also, the United Nations is located on land that's given to us by the Rockefeller family. And these people are the same people that we've talked about black genocide here on the show before. There's a great documentary called MAFA 21, MAAFA 21, that talks about the eugenics aspect of black genocide and how these people, these societal engineers, and we talk about it every week here at Demand the Truth, they hate black people. They really, really hate black people, and they want to wipe them off the planet. So then they create these drugs. Oh, so let's talk about this. Tell me about this graph right here.
So basically in 1971, as we show right here, Richard Nixon created the war on drugs. So basically made, put all the classifications on the drugs, said, okay, if you get caught with this kind of drugs, you get this many years. So it basically put the whole legal code that made drugs illegal, made it a felony offense to have drugs. In 1971, from that point on, you just see the prison population just skyrocket. This graph goes from 1970 to 2008. It's not even capturing the last 10 years.
And
right.
You notice here, this at the second tick in the graph, this first point on the graph shows where it started after the war on drugs. But if you look here in 1984, that's when Reagan passed the SRA, the Sentencing Reform Act. And it's very interesting because they sentenced all these people to jail for drugs, while at the same time, it's not a matter of debate anymore. The U.S. government and the CIA was shipping in drugs on record. Rick Ross, there's been movies about it, Kill the Messenger, Gary Hart, rest in peace, exposed all of this. Yeah. CIA officials, FBI officials, former LAPD, and like I said, it's come out in court and they've made Hollywood movies about it. These people were sending young, innocent African Americans to jail for selling the same drugs that they gave them.
It's crazy when you think about it. It's a movie script.
It literally is a movie script. And even a few years ago, people wouldn't admit that that the government was actually bringing all this in. And, whatever you think of Geraldo Rivera, good, bad, or indifferent, you guys can all go to YouTube right now and type in Geraldo Fox News opium, and he's standing there in front of our troops, and he actually interviews, I don't know if he's a lieutenant or what his rank was with the Army, but he is a ranking officer in the Army. and he's interviewing him in front of fields of poppy seeds and saying, yes, we protect this. We make sure that the bad guys don't get this, and we help them. Unfortunately, it's part of our culture. And like he's talking about how blacks make up 90% of the prisons, but only 10% of our population. Before the U.S. got into Afghanistan, they had only 10% of the world's opium production. Since the U.S. got in, it's 90%. So the United States is jailing people for selling the very drugs that they're bringing in.
Yeah. I mean, I emphasize the I mean, and just to drive the point home clear, I have a quote here from John Ehrlichman. He's the counsel and assistant to the to President Nixon, and this is a direct quote from him. You want to know what this is really about? Nixon had two enemies in the anti-war left and black people. We knew we couldn't make it illegal to be either against the war or black, but getting the public to associate hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. All right. So this is a direct quote from. So this isn't conspiracy. It's what it is. It really is what it is. That's exactly what it is. And now we're at a point 40 years from when all of this got enacted, and we just look at society completely breaking apart, falling apart at the seams. Why? Because all the men were in jail for 40 years. Mm-hmm. You know, if you take seriously,
and that's what it is too. And these people don't realize, this is a point that I've often made, is when they brought crack cocaine into the ghetto in the 1980s on purpose, that wasn't just one person using crack that his life was destroyed. That was somebody's brother, that was somebody's mother, that was somebody's son. That literally destroyed the African American community. And then on top of that, hip hop at the time was Public Enemy and De La Soul and Black Empowerment and Fight the System. And then what happened is these people got their record execs. Now, it's not my opinion. There's been documentaries about this inside BET. People from 106 and Park talked about it. There's an African American filmmaker named Byron Hurt who made a PBS special about it. There's a litany of documents regarding this. And they took over hip hop. And they made hip hop about, instead of black empowerment, it's cool to sell drugs to your own people, which further made it. And that's why we're in the mess we are now, is because they've actually glorified our inner city's own decay, you know?
Yeah, I mean, what you see now, I mean, there's all kinds of crazy stuff right now that's going on when it comes to, in the world of hip hop. I mean, like, drug use is glorified in hip hop now.
Yeah, before
like it's crazy.
Yeah, before it would be like, okay, you can, we'll drink beer and we'll smoke blunts or whatever. But now it's like, we're gonna take pills, we're gonna do all this weird stuff, we're gonna throw on a dress, I'm gonna wear a bride's dress.
It's just, and
it's all part of this anti-black eugenic societal engineering thing, because these people, the people that are signing these rappers, they're not like. I mean, even in these documentaries, they talk about it. There's the rappers that they interview, they're saying, well, I want to spit like this. And they're talking about some deep stuff. Yeah. But then he's like, I know in order to get signed, I have to act like this. They're not signing that type of person because they know that would be empowering. And they saw the power that Malcolm and Martin had. And that was just transitioning over to hip hop. And to back up what you're saying with this quote here about how they wanted to target the blacks, I mean, you guys can all go on YouTube and look up audio quotes of Nixon and LBJ calling blacks the N-words, and we're going to trick them into voting Democratic for these N-words, voting Democratic and all this other stuff. And people attack like Trump is the most racist president. But another spike in that graph, too, and I'm not saying he's not, but I mean, pretty much all of our damn presidents have been pretty racist. But then the graph climbs even higher, too, when Bill Clinton takes office. Because Bill Clinton, he also made the sentencing, the mandatory minimums, and that just put more amounts of black people in jail than ever. And they wanted to destroy the black community. And that way, the black community would, like you said, wouldn't have any fathers. And their fathers would be the state, the Democratic Party, and these young black males that are growing up. The TV is their the TV controlled by these elites is their parents. So make sure you guys go to Juice's page on Facebook. It's Juice's Malone. Follow him here for that information. He'll also put some of the links to this afterwards in the comments. We're going to be coming up to a break. Also follow me on Twitter at Will_Turbitt, TURBITT. And if you want to hear me Interviewing people at Comet Ping Pong Pizza and catching them hail Satan and yelling at cops at Bilderberg for not doing their job. Go to YouTube.com/Demand the Truth. We are live on Renegade Radio, 990WBOB.com, and we will be right back on the other side. Good show, good show. What was that from,
The Shelter Arcade Bar, located in
Shanghai Nights or Shanghai Moons, when they were trying to teach Jackie Chan how to... They're going undercover, and he's like, good show, good show.
Oh, yeah.
Jackie Chan's the man. This commercial always gets me mad hungry. Talking about the banana peppers.
Oh, yeah.
It's good.
The Angry Bird topped with buffalo chicken, bacon, and banana peppers, and the Italian plumber topped with tomato sauce, mushrooms, green and red peppers.
Let's go next over here.
This article I was just reading up on. This is nothing. I mean, it's stuff. It's important stuff, but...
Follow them on Twitter today for hours of operation and more at Shelter Arcade Bar.
Talk about the for-profit prison system.
All right, so we'll talk about we'll start talking about that.
Well, people don't realize that these prisons, they're making money off of these people. And you can even talk about how in the Constitution, the only amendment was it outlawed slavery, but prisoners can still can work.
Let's talk about that, yeah.
So that's the way they kept slavery. It's crazy, bro. It's crazy.
It really is, man. People in jail for dumb stuff, yo. There are people like Barrett Brown who's in jail for retweeting something that someone else said and all this other crazy.
Yeah. For retweeting something?
Yeah. Barrett Brown retweeted what a Fox commentator said, which was he was going to assassinate somebody, but he didn't even say he was going to assassinate somebody. He just retweeted something crazy that someone else said. Like, look at this guy's crazy.
Yeah.
And he was a member of Project Chinology and Down with Anonymous and all that, and they were trying to get taken down any way they could.
990WBOB.com's weather page is now your home for up-to-the-minute global weather information.
The game might be over, but that doesn't mean the conversation is. Join Tyler Salk and Ryan Fox as they exchange words, statistics, and fists on everything sports. For your Pats, Celts, and Sox.
Thank you guys for watching and sharing. I'm going to check out all those comments when I'm done. The camera is far too far for me to read them, but I'm going to definitely check them all out. If you guys have any information about all this, feel free to put it in the comments. And again, thank you guys for watching and sharing this information because it's important. I mean, if we can wake up to the fact that our prisons are controlled for profit, we'll talk about it.
990WBOB.com.
Gene.
All right, we are back here live on Demand the Truth. I'm here in studio with Juices Malone. He's got a whole bunch of facts and information here printed out in graphs, quotes. We were just going over a bunch of it, talking about the prison industrial complex here in the United States, how it's literally slavery. And in this segment, we're going to talk about how it's not only just literally slavery, but it's actually done for profit. And normally I would be all about privatization of things because I think when there's competition, it's going to be done far more efficiently than government. I don't think the government has ever done anything for us ever efficiently, except maybe round up our golds in the 1930s, and maybe round up the Japanese during the war. I mean, they can only do, or maybe spy on us or start illegal wars. They do those things efficiently, but they don't help the people efficiently. And I'm going to hand this over to you so we can talk a little bit about how this is run for profit. But this is a quote from Prudential Securities report in the 90s, and it says, "It takes time to build inmate population levels up to where they cover cost. Low occupancy is a drag on profits. Company earnings would be strong if CCA succeeded in ramping up population levels in its new facilities." Now, CCA that they're referring to was the Corrections Corporation of America. Now they're referred to as Core Civic. Them, along with GeoCorp, are the two largest owners of these mass prisons that used to be run by the state, but now they're run by that. So what are the ramifications? What happens when you start running these things, for profit?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's important for people to kind of understand kind of how how a prison can even become for profit. Because I'm sure there's some people out there that are thinking, how can a jail even be for profit? How can you even make money for jail? But think about it like this. Say you're in a poor state. Say you're in a red state, right? You're in Alabama, probably the poorest state in the union, despite it being a red state. It wants nothing. It has very little. All right, so they don't have much, Alabama. So if a private prison company comes along and says, you know what, we'll take this problem off your hands. You don't have to deal with your prisoners anymore. All you have to do is make sure that you have X amount of people, because we can get them to, I don't know, bang out license plates or do something, and I'm gonna get everything from what they do, because slave labor is legal if it's a prisoner.
Yeah, now, if it's in China, there's all these liberals across the United States. It's not just liberals, but the majority of liberals and good for them that they're speaking out against the slave labor that's going on in China and Indonesia and other parts of the world. But they're not talking about the slave labor, these people that are in the United States. And most of these people, 74% of these people that are in jail are for non-violent drug crimes. Can you imagine how many people are in jail right now because they had a bag of weed on them, a plant that grows naturally on this earth, and they're in jail for that?
Exactly. I mean, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, right? So we've been doing this for 50 years now. We've been doing it. We've been fighting this war on drugs, and drug use now is glorified in the most popular streaming music right now. We went over that in the last segment.
And in Hollywood, don't forget Hollywood too.
It doesn't work. The war on drugs does not work. It's a miserable failure in every sense, in every level. Why are we still doing it?
Well, the reason we're still doing it is because the same thing happened during Prohibition. In Prohibition, they made alcohol legal in the 1920s, and first of all, you can't enforce you're not going to drink, you're not going to smoke, because last I checked, there's laws against doing drugs, raping people, killing people, but that never seems to stop somebody from doing drugs, raping, or killing somebody. So you can't outlaw human behavior, whether it's negative or positive. You just can't do it. There's no way that the U.S. government had the amount of individuals to go around enforcing people everywhere in the United States in their own homes across. They didn't. I mean, how could you possibly do that? But on top of that, what happened is it led to black markets where the crime gangs would get a hold of it, and the crime gangs got a hold of it, and then they would have to hide it with weapons, and then violence became into it, and it was just a terrible moral failure overall for them trying to do that, and it just led to a black market and people getting murdered, and that's the same thing that we're seeing happen here before. People don't realize that before this war on drugs, before all of this, drugs were perfectly legal. It was your own fault if you wanted to put something into your body or not. In New York, they try to ban large sodas. Like, you can't just buy 3 of the same soda. That doesn't make any sense. Like, and there's signs in Providence, Rhode Island, all over here that say brush twice daily. Brush twice daily. Like, they're using our tax money to tell us to brush your own damn teeth. If you don't know to brush your own damn teeth right now, a sign's not gonna tell you. But yeah, continue. It's crazy how they get these people in these prisons, and they're literally working them to death on slave labor. But on the other hand, we're complaining about the slave labor going on in other places.
And you create a vicious cycle, right? Because I know tons of people. I mean, I didn't grow up, with a silver spoon in my hand or anything like that. So I grew up with people that have been to prison. I've seen people that have been to prison, and kind of like the cycle that they go through. So you go to jail. Now that time you lost, you didn't learn anything. You didn't stay at your job to get better. You couldn't get a legal job. Now you get out, it's harder for you to get some sort of employment because you have this on your record. You might go back to doing some little crime, might be some speeding tickets. You might have a warrant out there for something really, really silly somewhere. You're back in the system, and it goes on and goes and goes. And there's a lot of men out there that lose their entire lives in that system. They spend the majority of their 20s in that system. You don't see them for 10, 15 years. And it's a shame. And it's being that close to it, because these are lives. These are there's somebody's son, there's somebody's daughter, and it's not just the men, it's the women too that get caught up in that, and they get caught up in that system too. So it's important to know where they systematically attack the family. And it wasn't just It was, and I don't. It's not just a black-white thing or anything like that, a racial thing. This is an everybody thing. It's just that black people were attacked first when it came to this. But now it's everybody, right?
Yep, exactly.
Now we're all in the same boat.
And the thing is, yeah, whether you're black or white, it's more about the classism at this point. You're absolutely right. These people do have a special hatred and targeting of African Americans that nobody can deny. But the interesting thing is, like, if people sell drugs, the same drugs that the government has brought in on record, and the same drugs that these large banks like HSBC and Wachovia have been caught laundering for these drug dealers that work hand in hand with the CIA, none of those banks go to jail, but the average person goes to jail. Nobody went to jail over the lies about weapons of mass destruction, but the average Joe will go to jail for holding some of the same drugs that was brought in by these evil people. You know, there's different rules. In 2008, when the Too Big to Jail group went, none of those people, they didn't go to jail. As a matter of fact, they got bailouts and they got bonuses. So there's a different level of justice depending on where you are socially, economically, and racially in the United States. And it's a shame that this is still occurring this far into the future. Now, it was an outcry a couple weeks ago when we had the Libyans on the slave blocks, okay? So, first of all, by the way, there's 7 countries, at least 7 to 9 countries right now, disputedly, that slavery is all well and legal here, but the thing is, the United States, it still is too. The amount of people that are in jail, okay, is bigger than several countries, okay?
Exactly.
It's ridiculous. Like, I mean, there's something that they could be doing which is more beneficial to society. We're going to talk about that. These people shouldn't even have been in jail in the first place. We're coming up on a second break. We're going to come into the longest segment after that with our special in-studio guest, Juices Malone, here on 990WBOB.com. This is Demand the Truth. Stay tuned. We got some more information, facts, and solutions on the other side. So stay tuned and share this audio and video with your friends and family and help spread the word. Thank you so much.
That's funny. In a synthetic system. Yeah, that's why they don't go after synthetic drugs. That's funny.
Inspired inner graphic artist. Everyone can become a professional designer with PhotoJet's graphic design.
Man, I'm hungry. I think tacos today, dude. I think I'm gonna get some Cali Taco after I get out of here.
I gotta scoot back home, man. I got a family waiting for me.
Luckily for me, nobody loves me, so I can get tacos whenever I want.
All your needs. Graphic designs, make collages, and
gotta eat something good.
Check them
Sometimes
out
I do.
at Photojet.com today.
Chipotle's is right around the corner.
I like Cali Taco, but it's I'm not in love with Chipotle now.
I'm a Chipotle fan, though. I love Chipotle.
You know what I might do too? Apsara. That
Apsara's
person.
good. Apsara's good. Absolutely.
Is so
You know
good.
what's good? Nah, you should go to Hunger Punches.
What is it?
Hunger Punches.
Hunger Punches? Where's that?
Hunger Punches.
Where's that?
It's off of, I think it's off of Manhattan Ave.
Hunger Punches?
It's peaks and wings.
Okay.
But it's good.
Hunger Punches will write
The
that
one, the
down.
teriyaki ones are money.
Oh man, teriyaki is much.
Teriyaki
Hunger
ones
Punches.
are
Okay.
money. They deliver to you. They deliver to you.
Okay, so maybe that's what I'll do.
You can go down there, sip on some craft brews while taking a step back in time. Enjoy
My
some
kids love it.
David Applegate, I'm seeing your comments. You're absolutely right, and what you said earlier too is absolutely right. Roger, true. The more laws, the more criminals. Absolutely right. Do you know how many freaking laws there are now? Do you know there's still laws on the books too? Like it's naked to stare out at a horse outside of a window of an airplane in certain states. They got some weird ass laws. They'll lock you up for anything. Every year they write hundreds of more, sometimes thousands of more laws and regulations every single year just to lock your ass up, make you a gang member, and have you working as a slave for a giant corporation. What the hell is going on right now? We need to do something about this. We need to spread the word. We need prison reform. We need to call up our local representatives. Just go on YouTube, Google, and you guys can find your local representatives wherever you may be. And all you have to see is their contact information. It'll list their contact phone and their email right there. You guys just hit them up and say, hey, what the hell's wrong with you? You must end slavery or we will not vote for you. Again.
You see, for years now, whenever I'm shopping for a new ride,
crazy.
I always visit.
And this is why we need to share this information, is because unless we start speaking out about this, nothing's going to change. These people are counting on our silence. These people are like, all right, as long as these people stay shut about this, we're going to keep doing this. Because there's nobody opposing them. So when you're silent in times of injustice, you choose the side of the oppressor. So it's either you help out Juices or you're a literal Nazi. No, just kidding. You're a corporate prison exec. You're a shell. You're a nasty shell. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I have Juices Malone.
Hello.
Marine and independent researcher. He's brought through a lot of facts and graphs and quotes already. We're going to cover some more. We're talking about the prison industrial complex here on 990WBOB.com. If you guys just tuning in, and also if you're watching on Facebook live stream, please turn down the audio. Go to 990WBOB.com. Click the Listen Live link and share it and help support Renegade Radio. These guys have helped raise food for the homeless, money and shelter for the vets, and have been a voice for alternative voices such as myself for over 10 years now, and I really want to thank them for that. So help support people. You know, this is not, I'm not funded by anybody, unfortunately, but if Hot Hands or Hot Pockets or anybody wants to jump on the bandwagon, well, maybe not Hot Pockets, but Hot Hands, maybe. But we're talking about the prison industrial complex. One of the things that this comes down to, too, is, like we said, 74% of the people that are incarcerated right now are non-violent drug offenders. And this goes back to libertarianism and the fact that if you're not committing if you're not harming anybody, you shouldn't be in prison in the first place, okay? Right. So then that goes back to the non-aggression principle. As long as you're not harming anybody or you're not impeding on anyone's rights or you're not hurting anybody, then you should not be in jail. It's your own life, your own decision. The state is not God to tell you you can't sell this, you can't sell that. While they sell drugs on TV at the same time, right, while they bring the drugs in and they tell you can't use them and you can't sell them. But it's everybody's own duty to discern what is right from what is wrong. But on top of that, then they bring the drugs in and they tell us this is right, this is cool, and now you're in trouble for doing it. It's extremely backwards. And like I was saying during the break, one of the solutions that we have here is these local representatives, especially in this polarized world now, they're fearing for their seats all over the time, you know? And any one scandal can come out. So if you keep badgering these people, and anybody can just Google wherever you are, if it's Rhode Island, North Dakota, or worldwide, just Google your local representatives. They all have their own website, and at the bottom of that website, there'll be the contact information, the phone numbers, and the email. And if you don't want to call and leave a message or speak to them or speak to one of their staffers, just shoot them an email and tell them how you feel. Maybe send them over a couple stats and ask them, hey, how can you support slavery? Because that's what it's coming down to. I mean, any way you want to slice it, we have legalized slavery here for profit.
Found a way to do it. We literally found a way to do it. I think just on a strategic level, the way to attack it, again, talking to your representatives, but making sure that we're supporting people that are looking to decriminalize drugs, looking for ways to decriminalize, to make drug laws weaker in any way, shape, or form. In any way, shape, or form. It doesn't have to be the home run, but if we have somebody that's at least willing to look at the laws and make them have less bite, take the teeth out of them, take the teeth out of them, so people can regain their lives. Because if a drug addict, if a crack addict gets caught with crack, you know, we're not helping him by sending him to jail, because when he gets out of jail, he's gonna still want crack.
And this isn't exactly in these prisons. There's supposed to be centers for rehabilitation. What's your opinion on how effective that is of them rehabilitating people?
No, it's horrible, and the stats prove it. The stats here, especially in this country, prove it. If you look at prison in other countries and you compare it to prison in our country, like for example in Finland, their take on prison is very different than ours. They look at the prisoners as a member of society that will come back. That their ultimate goal is to rehabilitate that person and reintegrate that person to be a productive member of society. They don't want people in jail. They want empty beds in their jails.
Meanwhile, in the United States, they want you in a metallic, clear pod of pink, sticky ooze with all of your bodily hair not grown, being a pod for energy for the matrix in the prison industrial complex run for profit by these large corporations. It's insane. Yeah. It's insane. And I can't believe more people are not up in arms about this. I mean, you know, the alt-right talks about how Muslims are oppressed, Muslim women are oppressed. People talk about the oppression in North Korea. People talk about this oppression. We have oppression going on right here in the United States. And guess who's giving these prisons their profit? My tax money,
exactly.
Your tax money, everybody. Exactly. We are financing we are financing it.
It's us.
We're allowing this to occur, and this happens. And like I said, as long as you don't stand up in times of injustice or you stay silent, you are allowing it to occur, and you choose the side of the oppressor. So it all comes down to this: do you have any empathy? Do you allow yourself to get bullied? Do you allow others to get bullied? And another point I bring up quite honestly a lot of times is the fact that when I meet people or when I hear about different activists across the entire spectrum, whether it be fluoride or vaccines or the war on drugs or whatever it is, well, hey, how did you get involved in this? Oh, well, my daughter or my son had a vaccine injury, or my son was locked up illegally for this or that. And guess what, people? We can't wait until it's us, ourselves, being affected until we do something about it, because then we're all going to be freaking slaves. Right. So what do you, I mean, you briefly mentioned some of the alternative systems that they have there. In your opinion, are they effective? What are some things that we can maybe learn from them? I mean, because obviously we're not doing a good job of rehabilitating these people.
Well, Portugal did a great. They legalized their drugs. They made them, they made it a medical problem and not a criminal problem. So the people that were, hooked on heroin, they were able to get clinic. They were able to get clean syringes. They were able to get methadone, to wean them off. They could put themselves in a program where they were, kind of administered, so people were living longer, right? Because now they were in medical facilities, doing it that way. And more people were kicking the habit altogether because it was something that was out in the open. It wasn't something that was out in the fringe. I mean, sometimes, in America here, I love America. I love the United States, but sometimes we have this Lord of the Flies mentality where it's just like everybody just fend for themselves and just figure it out. And it's like, you know what? I'm a Christian. Sorry, I am my brother's keeper. You got to look out for the next person. That's all. Well,
whether you're a Christian or you're not, it goes back to that point. You got to look out for each other, or no one's going to look out for you, because that's what happens. These people are allowed to conspire and do things based on people's inaction, and quite frankly, there's not an inability to do anything here. We're all tired. We all work. We all have disabilities. We all have things and passions and other things in our own life. We have family. We have kids. This guy right here, he fought for our country. He works 40 hours a week. He has a family. I don't even know what else he gets to besides his Pog collection and his Tamagotchi in his free time. So I don't even know. We all have things that we have to deal with in life as individuals, whether they be work, spending time with your family, or personal problems or physical problems that we have to deal with. But guess what? Half of the world lives off $2 a day. And those people and the people that are locked up in prisons working for pennies, for slaves, for corporations, they need you to do something. They need you to speak out. Because otherwise, what's going to happen? Even if you have a ton of stuff going on, everybody out there, I don't care how busy you are, you have 1 hour a week to look into information and spread information, bare minimum. Nobody doesn't have 1 hour. And you could still play Pokemon, y'all could still play video games and watch football and do all the other things that you love to do. But how can you sit there at this point knowing that people are enslaved and not even dedicate an hour of your time? And that doesn't necessarily mean getting on video. That doesn't necessarily mean making memes. It could be sharing information. It could be calling your representatives. It could be talking about how we need prison reform. It could be talking about how we need to decriminalize these drugs, because these people are in jail for absolutely no reason besides the fact that they're making people profits, and it gives the state more power to control people, both in the war on drugs and in the prisons, because it's literally more people under their thumb that's helpless. And as Justice was talking about, it breaks up the family. It destroys our family. And whether you're Christian or not, when you destroy the family, you're going to have out of control things. And just look at Chicago. Chicago, there's over 3,400 people just shot this year alone. And a lot of that is because guns are outlawed, drugs are outlawed, and there's intense poverty. So, I mean, where do you see this all going if people don't do something? Because, I mean, it's not like these people are slowing down in terms of incarcerating people.
If something doesn't happen it's going to have to take change of legislature, right? Because it's hard to get people to all make the right choices, right? To make the choices that are going to benefit them all the time. Even, so you have to give the framework. So it's going to have to be on that level. I think I'm an optimist. I think that if just going that route, we can get laws changed. We can take some of these laws off the books, but we have to fight harder and look at what the problem actually is. These drug laws have absolutely decimated our country. It has decimated the moral fiber. It has decimated the standing that we've had in the world. We're no longer the beacon that we used to be. So it's something that's tangible that we can actually touch and we can actually accomplish if we go forward and just one step after the other, just go after it.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, because another thing that people are disappointed about, and if you guys are just tuning in, 990WBOB.com, Renegade Radio, I'm your host, Will Turbid, on Demand the Truth. I have Juices Malone live in studio talking about the prison industrial complex, and people are often discouraged if they don't initially see results on action that they're taking. First of all, you don't realize, even just waking one person up or spreading this information from one person, the effect that one person can have. I was recently on Ricky Varandas' show, The Ripple Effect, and it's a very good named podcast because the ripple effect, even if you're just waking up one person, you're doing something and you're spreading that information. So there's no reason. People feel a lot of times like if all of a sudden overnight the prison industrial complex isn't defeated, that they get frustrated. Look, I've been telling you guys, I've been doing this for 12 years, and it took me like 11 to get a group together. It took me, even before that, a few years, 8-something years to get, and it took me a while to initially get up a website. Then it took me a while to get people at my protest. It took me like 11 years to even get on radio. I mean, these things aren't going to change overnight, but if you keep chipping away at this stuff, you are going to see results. And even if you're just, like I said, waking up one person, that one person could go on to have a tremendous effect. It's like the butterfly effect. So we need to not be scared, and we need to make a decision right now to do something peacefully about this, because we can't stand on the sidelines anymore and just let the fat cats rule over us. I mean, I can't just sit here, forget having the empathy for the people that are locked up for nothing. Yep. But I also just can't sit here and let someone bully me into just doing whatever they want with my tax money. It's absurd, and that's the whole point of the show, is to bring you guys this factual information, and then for us to give concrete solutions and ways to take action against that, so we can make a change. Because I'm not over here because I'm trying to, win any type of popularity contest. I mean, this is the wrong avenue to do that. So, I mean, we need to have a change in this lifetime. I believe, I'm an optimist like you. And although I'm not a Christian, I keep a skeptical but open mind to all things. I do personally believe that there is a God. And part of the reason I'm doing all this is because once I saw the little kids after the Iraq war, with their jaws blown off and in rubble, and they're crying, and, the people jumping out of the Twin Towers, I realized that I personally believe that there's something bigger and higher than myself out there. And I didn't want to go to my grave and go to the other side and just say, hey, Will, what did you do with your life? I mean, it's one thing if you did nothing about it and you didn't know anything was going wrong, but it's like Spider-Man, with great knowledge comes great responsibility. When you understand that children are getting trafficked, people are being enslaved, and the government is spreading war and genocide over lies, it's your responsibility to do something about that. It's your moral responsibility, whether you believe in an afterlife or a God or not. That is your responsibility. And atheists, they like to pride themselves on being more moral than Christians. So this is your chance to step up and do something about this. We're coming up to a break, our final break here on Demand the Truth. It's going to be one more segment after that. And like I said, I'm in studio with Juices Malone. You guys follow him on Facebook. I'm actually going to throw him a curveball in the final segment. We're going to have a couple minutes. We're going to talk about geopolitics because he is a Marine and he never stops being a Marine. And one of the oaths that he took an oath for was to defend this Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that's what he's doing right now. So stay tuned. We're coming up on the final segment here on the other side of Demand the Truth, 990 WBOB.com, Renegade Radio.
Good stuff.
So yeah, in the final segment, we'll just talk about, I'm just going to ask you, where do you see the world as an ex-Marine? Where do you see all this other stuff going? We'll just open up a can of worms there and talk about whatever you want.
Wow. Anywhere.
You can talk about
Like with North Korea?
What?
With North Korea?
Yeah, talk about North Korea. Anything you want, I don't care.
Become a professional designer with photo jets.
Anything to kill time until I get
Whenever
tacos back.
you feel inspired, you can always create awesome designs with massive templates from posters, flyers, cards,
Thank you guys so much.
invitations,
And thank everybody that came out last night to another meeting of the Open Minds Alliance. I opened that back up. Anybody that's here in the southern New England area, I'm going to create another event after my show tonight, after I get home and check out y'all comments and eat some food. I'm going to create another event for this Sunday. It's going to be probably at 6:30 p.m. around there, somewhere in Rhode Island. And we're going to meet. We had a fair turnout last night of concerned citizens from all over the paradigm and the political spectrum, and we all came together and we realized we need to do something peacefully. So this is another avenue, this is another way that we can do things, and we welcome you and we welcome your ideas. And if you're not in the area, then feel free to join us via video conferencing or audio conferencing and help us. And I just saw, because I can't read everything, especially when I'm doing this, but I go back and check all the comments afterwards, try to reply to every single one of them. I just noticed that David P. Texera is watching now. And I would love to give a shout out to David P. Texera because this guy has supported me and shared every single one of my videos since the first episode, since nobody paid attention to me, and I was showing information and trying to prove to you guys all these facts and quotes from Rockefeller, Edward Bernays, and Bertrand Russell, and he believed in me and supported me since day one. So David, thank you so much, and thank all you guys. You guys are so awesome for helping me spread this word. It's very humbling to meet all you guys and have you guys help and support, because it does take a village to stave off these jerks that are trying to poison us and traffic us and keep us enslaved. So
Destroy us.
I'm not going to sit here and let this happen. I can tell that you guys aren't, and I appreciate your help. I really humbly do. Sometimes I'm just to myself thinking like, wow, this is really, really cool, like, to have this group of friends and people. So if you guys need anything from me, just let me know. I'll try to hook you guys up. I really try to reciprocate the love that you guys share with me.
A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more
So
stuff.
we got like
Still no job.
7 minutes on that final.
Both.
6, 7 minutes.
Stuff is defined as household articles.
Just free for all at the end.
Sometimes this stuff
Yeah,
is
I'll just talk about things and bring them up, and then get your take on them. Maybe we'll talk about, definitely talk about North Korea, and then anything else you want to bring up.
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, talk about Bitcoin too.
Unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth partying with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
It says, hey James, it's Tina. It's not even Joe, it's Tina. What's up, Joe and Tina?
Hey. That's funny.
CFG in the house. We're shutting down the market.
Shutting it down. It's funny.
All right, we are back here live. Demand the Truth, final segment in studio with my man, independent researcher and Marine, upholding that oath to the Constitution, all enemies, foreign and domestic. Justice Malone. Follow him on Facebook and get all his information there daily, hourly. He shares great information that's crucial, and he's on himself woken up a bunch of people. So the first 3 segments we were talking about how the prison industrial complex is destroying our lives, and also the solutions and how to get around that and how to benefit the United States from reversing that. So let's change courses. I know you're interested in all different parts of the world. Let's talk a little bit about what you think's going on in North Korea as a Marine, and then any other topics that you want to bring up, because North Korea now is something that, I mean, we heard about that. Now, it's not just during Trump's presidency that we've been hearing about North Korea. Same thing during Obama, same thing during Bush. I mean, this has been going on now. Both my grandfathers fought in the Korean War. These people have been fighting each other for quite a long time. Where do you see that? Where do you see things going in that avenue?
I think the United States is probably going to attack them at some point. I think Trump is just, he needs a war. That's his next thing, you know, and that might take eyes off of what he has going on personally right now. So he's gonna, you know, if it's up to him, you know, unless they find a way to stop him, you know, the establishment, the deep state finds a way to stop him, I think he's gonna find a way to get us in some sort of a conflict.
Yeah, and regardless if he doesn't, if he actually wants to keep us peaceful or not, regardless of that situation, you're going to see the military-industrial complexes, and that's where the term prison-industrial complex is a play off of. And President Eisenhower, in his farewell speech, warned against the military-industrial complex, and that's why, and I talk about this all the time, and I think you're right, if they don't get a war with North Korea, they're definitely going to try, and they're going to try in Syria, and they're going to keep trying in Iran, they're going to keep trying to get war somewhere, because the interesting thing that you'll note about the United States economy, and that's another one of the hats that you wear, is no matter how bad things get, no matter how inflated the dollar is, the military-industrial complex, the giants like Raytheon, the Carlyle Group, and those guys in Wall Street, they keep getting richer. The Dow keeps hitting new record highs, but ordinary Joes like you or I, we're not benefiting from that.
Not at all. Not at all. And it's one of those things. I mean, we have this new tax plan that's coming up. You know, it's from what I've seen, the really wealthy benefit a lot, middle class, poor people not so much. And so you have to figure out. So basically, it's incentivizing people to become small business owners. That's gonna be the move for people. So people that aren't into financing or anything like that, it's gonna be good if you have your own business, if you have an LLC or something like that you can funnel, you know, your taxes through. You're gonna be great under the plan. But if you don't have that and you're not savvy like that, you're gonna get crushed under this new plan.
Yeah, and the unfortunate thing is, taxation is theft. Whenever they take your money from you, by force of violence, it's literally theft. And people say, well, we need taxes for my roads, and we need taxes for this and that. People don't realize that Thomas Jefferson, in his second inaugural address, said that he eliminated all taxes and eliminated the need for a taxman, and bragged of the fact that no American was visited by a taxman, and he still ran an entire federal government. People don't realize that before we had the income tax, which is inherently illegal, immoral, and unconstitutional, come in 1913 by the Rockefeller family, the Warburgs, the Rothschilds, the Schiffs, and their representatives, that we had roads, we had highways, we had street lights all before that. So we're already taxed like crazy, and you know what? But I also, this is an unpopular belief, but I think that the rich should have a tax cut. I think that the middle class should have a tax cut. I think that the poor people should have a tax cut. And I think that tax level should go down to 0. If they want to fund their illegal wars, let them come up with their own damn money. I'm not a big fan of Michael Moore at all, but one of the things that I liked about him is in one of his documentaries, he was waiting outside of Capitol Hill with a form to sign up children, congressional members and senators for children for this war. And they all voted for the war, but they didn't want to sign up their sons or daughters. Yeah. If you want this war, you go fight this war. If you want a prison industrial complex, you go work like a slave your damn self. We're not spending our tax money anymore to do this crap. They're taking our tax money to traffic kids. It came out DynCorp was trafficking kids. They're taking our tax money for illegal wars. They're taking our tax money to vaccinate people against their wills. They're taxing us to give money to Amazon and Jeff Bezos. They're taxing us to fund the CIA. They're taxing us to do studies to find out if gay dating apps work. They're taxing us to tell you to brush your freaking teeth. What the hell? I know to brush my teeth.
So you don't want to give them your money?
I don't want to give them my money.
blame you.
They're taking, and a point I always harp upon is the fact that this country started over 3% tax on tea. We're taxed 30 to 40% of our tax, of our money right now, and nobody bats a freaking eye. They're just sitting there and letting them steal from you. It'd be one thing if taxes were 3%, okay?
Right.
We went to freaking war over 3%. It'd be one thing if tax was 3%, I'd be like, whatever, okay, whatever, 3%. They're stealing almost half of your money to traffic kids, start wars, and propagandize and spy on you. And I'm not saying that tongue-in-cheek. They're spying on you through the NSA. It came out. Ever seen the movie Snowden? And it also, they're propagandizing you, like I always harp upon, too. The CIA in 2014 reauthorized the National Defense Authorization Act and legalized domestic propaganda and spying on us. So this whole show, Juices, comes down to, are we going to sit here and let our tax money pay for these atrocities, or are we going to do something about it? Final words, we're coming to the close of the show. What are some final words and parting things you want the audience to know?
We have to get involved and we have to be awake, and we can't get so caught up in the mundane things that we lose sight of what's important. And we lose sight that when the Constitution, when that document was drafted, it was drafted so we would be the bosses, right? The government, we're supposed to be the master and have the leash, and the government, we're supposed to walk we're walking the dog around. That's how it's supposed to work. Mm-hmm. Instead, the dog has gotten so big that it's walking us around at this point. All right, so we're basically, what we'll just describe is basically we're funding the mechanism that enslaves us. Essentially, that's what it is. We're actually giving them the money to have the operation that keeps us in bondage. So let's keep some of our money back, and let's be smart in how we conduct ourselves, and how we and make conscious decisions. Mm-hmm. Make decisions based on truth, on research. Because as long as you're making decisions based on truth, we'll be okay. Everybody will be okay, because we'll all make the right decisions at that point, because we're making it, on the square for those people that understand what I'm talking about.
Okay, are you a Mason?
No, I'm not.
Okay, because Mason's watching. I know John Page is a Mason. He's watching this. And he's like, I'm talking about on the square. So no, but Juices may not be a Mason, but he does deal on the square. So thank you for coming on today. Thank you for bringing all this information and research to my eyes, and thank you for speaking so eloquently and passionately about it, because it's something that we need to draw attention to. Like you said, we're funding the very mechanism that's enslaving us. We're giving this very beast power over ourselves to do this to you. So check out Juices Malone on Facebook. He is obviously right there in the comments. Go on 990wbob.com right after the show. Check out my past cast. I have John Kiriakou, CIA Section Chief. I have people that spoke at TED Talks. I have Dr. Shiva Adiurai, MIT scholar and inventor of what we know as email. So check that out. Spread this information with people, and take 1 hour a week to do something positively and peacefully to stop this. We'll be back next week. YouTube.com/Demand the Truth. Facebook Will Turbit at Will_TURBITT. Renegade Radio 990WBOB.com. Stay tuned for the Rotunda with Scotty coming right up.